Hello, everyone. Welcome to your annual Thursday night Making an Impact appearance with myself, the foe, Cody Defoe, and the wonderful, amazing, natural Astrid Pizarro. Astrid, how are you doing tonight?
Still tired from work, but I'm doing okay. Glad that we're talking about Impact tonight. It was a good show to watch at least, and gave me a little bit of strength that I needed to continue. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It was a decent show tonight. There was a lot of really high quality stuff on the show. There was some filler and some other stuff in there, but it definitely felt like it was a really good go home show to tomorrow night's No Surrender pay per view. So we're gonna dive into this, starting with BTI, get through the show, all the way up until the main event. Once we go through the main event, we're going to go into our predictions for tomorrow night's No Surrender pay per view. Let's get it started. Let's kick it off, Astrid. Throw a hi out in the chat there to the wonderful Mel Ball popping in, saying hi to us. Everybody else in the comments, feel free to jump in, join the comments, join the conversation. Let us know what you thought of tonight's show, what you're feeling, what you're expecting tomorrow night. Anything that you have to say about Impact, we'd be happy to hear you and have you join our chat. Astrid, BTI, Kevin Knight, and Jack Price, two lesser known guys, two very quality guys. Lots of attention and talk in this one, I felt, from commentary. They were giving both guys their fair share and their due build, I guess is the best way to put it. Talking a lot about Knight's athleticism, talking a lot about Price's kind of strength, his time in the gut check competition, coming runner up to, I believe it was Hotch that won last year, or Skyler. I don't even remember at this moment. I know it's one of the good hands.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the match itself, though?
I liked it because to me, this is the second time I had seen Kevin basically between the 2 days that I was there. So it was nice to that was a good introduction for me watching him, especially now that he was by himself. I like his high flying style was really well done. It was better than I thought it was gonna be. I'm not saying I'm like it was the first time I seen it, so I didn't know what to expect. So when I saw him, I was like, "You're pretty good. I don't mind seeing you again." But no, he was great with this match. So again, though, with Jack Price, I keep thinking of Jack Pride. Sorry, just it doesn't help it doesn't help my brain, to be honest. But no, I feel like both of them they had a great showing, and I like how they gave us a lot about Kevin, gave us a lot of introduction towards him, telling us his background. I feel like commentary did a very good job of telling us that about him as the match is going on.
Yeah, it was a really, really good match. Really diverse styles match it up really well between the strength and the athleticism between them. Got a really, really vicious looking German suplex from Price. I think Knight definitely amplified it just because he has such a good vertical, but he flew quite a ways and landed pretty hard. Really cool looking standing frog splash from Knight. Going into the finish, there was the one spot with Price. Looked like he was setting up a fireman's carry and he tried to drop it into a stunner and ended up dropping it more into a jawbreaker. I don't know if the intent was the jawbreaker, but it definitely looked like he was trying more for a stunner, so it came off a little awkward in there. But ultimately, you get Knight coming back. He slides out of the way of a top rope move and then hits the leaping DDT with the extra high vertical to get the win. I did take note in the end, too, because Tom made a note out of it, that congratulating Knight on his win and also congratulating and recognizing him as a newly graduated Young Lion. I didn't actually realize that Knight was a part of the Young Lion program in Japan, but that's a really cool accomplishment for him. The Young Lion program is never an easy program. It's quite demanding, and anyone who's familiar with New Japan and familiar with the way that their dojo system works knows that it's quite hard to get through and get a graduate out of that.
Yeah, that's one thing that I liked about the introduction there too, because I knew he was from New Japan, but I didn't know he was part of that program either. So like seeing the little bits and pieces like that, it helped me like figure out more about him and kind of remember more about his background too, because I didn't know anything about him coming into this tapings.
Yeah. We jump into the main show. We get a little bit of a recap of a couple things from last week, and then we get into the opening match of the main show tonight. Speedball Mike Bailey and Jonathan Gresham versus the Motor City Machine Guns, as was set up by the director of authority, Santino Marella, and the deputy dictator of authority, Dango.
Amazing.
Um, this one again, a great combination of styles, and I really like they really played to the story extremely well. It's a common story. It's not unusual and unheard of to have the two opponents working as a team against an actual formed team. All four members of this match are just such accomplished and talented athletes and performers, though. I felt like Speedball and Gresham just really played to that they're strong individually and they dominated in all one-on-one settings. But then Sabin and Shelly, as a team that's been teaming together forever, basically managed to do a lot of the double teaming. They had a lot of the tag team work down, and lots of different points throughout, where it wasn't necessarily competition between the two individuals of Gresham and Bayley, but they weren't really on the same page a lot.
I don't want to describe it this way, but I guess the best way I can is like kind of like one upping each other in a way, as like in a sense during the match, and kind of like showing off was like, if you can do it, I can do it better. Hello, Barry. Can't have any picture without you here. So it just felt like kind of one of those of like, if you can do it, I can show you that I can do it better kind of situation in that aspect of it between both of them. I enjoyed watching them together though. I feel like even as a tag team, even though this is the only time we've seen them like this, and I don't think we'll see this against a tag team, but it was interesting to see them together. I wish we could see them together as a tag team though, because I feel like they could easily build off of each other and do great. But no, it's like this was like a great high flying match. I love that they have like those parts of like miscommunication going into this, because it adds a little bit more to the part of their match as well. And having the end of like, we have Sabin and Shelly, like you said, that been teaming up for so long that they know how to work out the system when it comes to being a tag team here. So if you notice, it's like even towards the end, Shelly's holding out Speedball because he doesn't want him to help out Gresham at the end. But it's just like those little things that add a little bit more to what's going on to their story. And yeah, I think it was an interesting choice to have them team up as well. But yeah, I enjoyed it though.
Yeah, and again, the miscommunication stuff I had noted. When Alex Shelley was in the figure four with Gresham, but Bailey realized he was the legal man, not Gresham, so he slides in the ring and tells Gresham to come make the tag. Just little things like that, where it's, I'm the legal. Let me tag you in so that you can go back into this and actually make him submit. There was the one team spot there where while Gresham had him in the figure four, and Bailey comes in and does the backflip knees, which was a pretty awesome spot. And then immediately afterwards, though, Sabin comes in and power bombs Bailey onto Gresham to break the hold. And then we went into kind of a sequence leading up to the finish with multiple different near misses of Bailey almost hitting Gresham, Gresham almost hitting Bailey, and then ultimately Bailey does actually hit Gresham. Sabin takes out Bailey, and they go into the finish to get the win. Lots of just little things like that. Both, like, each of them as individuals had the match in hand, but trying to work as a team when they didn't have that cohesion between them is ultimately what ended up costing them the match. And so, without really creating a ton of animosity, it still sets up what's going to be an excellent match between the two of them, because it's really made them each look strong in their own way. And for a countdown match going, like, leading into the pay-per-view, this is an excellent way to get that crowd amped up right off the bat in Vegas. Putting Gresham and Bailey as people are loading into that building is going to get everybody hot right off the bat for what should be an amazing show. Next, we got a Rich Swann, Josh Alexander package. Pretty standard build to the match, talking about Rich Swann winning the championship, losing it to Omega, never really getting back to the mountaintop. Josh kind of recognizing that and recognizing that Rich, is very talented, and how when he became champion, he realized that a target was always going to be on his back. And when he needed someone, Rich Swann was the one who was there and had his back. Just a pretty standard basic package. I don't think there's too much more out of it than that, unless you have something, Astrid.
No, I just thought like, even when we think of this as like Josh is winning, but I feel like it was a great way to highlight this backstory with Rich Swann, even though he did win this 6 shooter challenge. But if you think about it from that aspect, I'm like, I like how they connected this back to the Kenny Omega match of like, he never got his rematch, so this is his rematch. So I like that part of it. Like, even sometime months later, they still connected this back to that, even when the match was not related to that whatsoever.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah,
was
I
almost
like the
2
video
years
part.
ago now at Rebellion that he lost that match to Kenny. So
Yeah, I didn't think about how long it was until he like, went back and like gave the story behind it. I did like him highlighting himself as world champion, because I feel like it was during that time with COVID happening and the pandemic that I feel like we often forget, how it was. So it's nice to see him like having us remember how he was as champion during a tough time in wrestling.
yeah, I mean, he almost had that Drew McIntyre story of WWE as the champion that got to carry a company through the pandemic with no audience there to cheer him on or recognize the accomplishment of him. That we're kind of at a point now where I think the crowd almost wants to get behind him, but nobody wants to turn against Josh, and it's going to be interesting to see where the crowd falls tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Next, we got a quick recap of the Deonna Purrazzo and Giselle Shaw segment from last week's BTI, with Giselle trying to throw chili in her face, throwing it in Jay Vidal's face instead. Then we jump to Deonna backstage, basically thanking Giselle for admitting that she was the problem all along. And the only other piece of it that I really picked up was the end line where she says, "You'll find out tomorrow that the sweetest revenge isn't a hot bowl of chili, it's a broken arm."
The other thing for me, I don't want to say that it bothers me, but it kind of does bother me. I know that we had the backstory of Vexed in here with Deanna and Giselle, but other than that, it just feels like there's nothing really here for this whole feud. And I feel like this could have happened a little bit earlier. So it feels like at this point it's kind of late to have them going against each other. But at the same time, I feel like maybe because maybe they didn't have anything else for Diana at the moment. And I feel like Diana being with her accolades and her resume and impact, she shouldn't be just having just a regular match and in the pre-show either. So just like I I'm torn about it because I feel like
Hey,
she
hey,
deserves better than this
don't
though.
talk bad about BTI. We already got knocked
I'm
on by Trey for that
not.
one.
I'm not, but at the same time, just like I feel like Giselle and Diana, I'm like, okay. I'm like, I love women's wrestling, and I don't get me wrong, I'll watch the match and enjoy it. But at the same time, I'm thinking, what's the point of this too? And it's like, yeah, and Barry's saying it too. He goes, I'm about to say the same, no real build up to it. And it's just like, what we had a bowl of chili as the build up. Like, seriously, that's what we get for this. A bowl of chili. You couldn't have done any better than that. So that's the part I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it.
Giselle's head's getting too big for her britches. She's broken up too many tag teams, and then started bragging about breaking up tag teams, and that was the last straw for Deonna. Wasn't it last straw to break up the team? It was her taking credit and being
Yeah.
proud of it.
So it's just
So,
like I just see the chili as the center of this and Giselle and Diana on the other side. I don't like it at all. Sorry.
would you have preferred we have a chili on a pole match?
That sounds great.
An ultimate chili match. We'll hang the chili from the Ultimate X.
Oh no. Oh, gosh.
Moving on. We have our first of the beat the clock matches for the night. I don't want to spend any more time talking about this match than the length of the match itself was. So Jason Hotch was Tommy Dreamer's opponent. John Skyler came out with a microphone saying something. Who cares? Dreamer won in 1 minute and 15 seconds. Sucks for Hotch. I wish the band well. I wish he got a better rep than this, but
Yeah.
it's a Dreamer match. Sorry, Hotch.
For me, I was like, do I want to see Dreamer have a match that's longer than a minute? But I also feel bad of Hotch losing in a minute. You know what I mean? And then I feel like us in the crowd were like, it's over? That's it. Really? I was like, and like I said, it's like for us, they didn't tell us what their stakes were for this. And seeing this match being only like what, 1 minute and 20 seconds, I think, or
Minute
15
15.
seconds. And just like, okay, what's the stakes for this? And then we didn't know anything about it until now when we watched it last week. I'm like, a minute match for this? To talk first, I busted open. How amazing! What an amazing, great prize that is. No, sorry.
And at
Not
the
my
end of the
cup of
match, they
tea.
announced that later in the night, Bully Ray will try and beat that minute and 15 by facing Bhupinder Gujjar.
Very. I went to the toilet at the start of this match, and I'm glad it was over before I returned.
I mean, it might have been over before you even got to the toilet, Barry.
True.
Moving on. We have a package that's put together from the Joe Hendry meet and greet. And if you paid extra close attention in that meet and greet, we had a wonderful cameo from the one and only Natural beside me. That was the highlight of that package for me. It was Joe Hendry. As much as I love Joe, it was a pretty standard package, just hyping up that he's going to beat Matt Cardona in the combat match tomorrow night. We already knew that. I believe in Joe Hendry. You believe in Joe Hendry. Matt Cardona will always be Edge's bitch. So,
but it's Moose though. It's not even Matt Cardona. I think this was funny because, like I said, I told you off screen, I wouldn't have noticed this because you mentioned it because I was not being paying attention. I was thinking just a Joe Hendry video package, I can just listen to it. Until you told me that I was on, and I was like, oh, I'm there for a split second. But no, this was fun because this was during the meet and greet they had, and I had the camera like near me, and they asked me like, he's like, "Whoa, who's the reason why you came?" And like me being who I am, excited to be there, I blanked out and I said Mickey James, and Joe Hendry just stared at me, and I was like, "Oh, you're in character. Actually, you're the reason why I'm here." Hi. So, yeah. So I think that's why they caught it off actually, because I was caught like blank stare at him, like, "Oh, never mind, it's you." Actually,
I mean, you got to stand there holding the digital media championship, so.
Yeah, so I definitely took a picture with him, and as we were taking the picture, they were filming us for that. So I figured they would probably show it later, but I didn't know it was gonna be part of the show. So it was pretty cool, like be on Twitter now and seeing the clip of it, and even going back and to the like show itself on YouTube, and you're gonna see myself for that split second with my awesome Backbreaker Media shirt that I love. So there you go, Backbreaker Media representing you guys.
Backbreaker Media on Impact Wrestling. If you're not already, follow Backbreaker Media on YouTube for the replays of Making an Impact every Monday.
Ah, there you go.
cheap plug. You're welcome, Mike. Astrid, tell me what you thought of Taya Valkyrie versus Allysin Kay.
Jeez. Can I say what I loved? One of the things I loved about this match was having Jessica being the cheerleader in the corner. I have a video of her. I had to post it. I'm sorry. But I love having her in the corner cheering on Taya there. But I feel like it was a good like introduction to what we're gonna see at the pay-per-view. The more than anything, that's how I saw that, like a great preview of it. And it just made me more excited for the match once I knew it was official that the match is happening. And I'm so excited to watch him. I enjoy the hacks from the little clips I saw here and there in WA before. And like I said, I remember watching the girls from the Mae Young Classic and even watching them before in Impact. So seeing them now as a team, I'm excited for them to win. I really want them to win this match and get those championships and make it a little bit different with Death Toss chasing after them and kind of do something different for the Knockouts division and the tag team there. So I'm hoping they win it, and that just made me more excited to watch this particularly.
Yeah, the match itself was okay. I didn't see anything that really stood out as great for me. It was pretty slow moving. Taya and Allysin both kind of were being a little bit more methodical and taking their time setting things up, which sometimes just is hard for me when you're so used to the faster pace of a lot of matches in a lot of different places right now to see where they have to take the time to slowly wrap each other up and then get each other into the exact position to hit moves. And then specifically the false finish that Allysin hit with the reverse driver behind on Taya, it almost felt like Taya just completely no-sold that move. Like she was down, she took the pin, and then she was immediately up again, hitting another move going the other direction. That it looked a lot more impactful than what she made it seem like, and that kind of took me out of that match a little bit as well. Like you said, a nice preview, a nice setup just for them to hopefully just have got some experience and some ring rust off and just used to each other in the ring. And hopefully tomorrow night we get a much better overall performance of all four members of the teams that are engaged, and Rosemary likely at ringside.
Yeah, probably.
We go next to the Rich Swann and Josh Alexander contract signing. And as soon as we get in, they've already signed the contract, and Santino Marella picks up the contract and says, I'm learning so many new things in this job. I didn't know that we needed to have contracts for world title matches.
The thing about this is like once they're like, oh, it's signed, and he has it in his hands. I was like, and you're not gonna show us when this happened? Like the other company would have showed us the whole contract signing in the ring, and then a fight and a brawl happening right after. And I was like, and here we didn't even get to see the contract getting signed. Oh, jeez. I was like,
I mean, Santino called the camera too late. He didn't even realize he needed to get them to sign it, let alone record
I was gonna say, we missed it then. Thanks. This one made me laugh though, because not only do we have that aspect of like Santino saying that, I was like, thanks for showing us a contract signing a little bit too late. I feel like lately, especially with this tapings, I don't know if it was like at least my feelings on it. I know between Diana and Giselle, and then Josh and Rich, and even Mickey and Masha, I feel like there hasn't been a lot of build up towards it, like too much added to it. And I feel like the same thing happened with me here with Josh and Rich. I feel like they finally added like a good exclamation point to it when Rich accidentally hit Josh last week, and they mention it here, and he kind of starts inciting kind of like that heated argument between them, and especially from like Rich's end, and he just tells Josh like, well, like this and that, and that back and forth of like, yeah, but what do you mean about this? And what do you mean about that? And like questioning Josh in a certain way. And Josh is like, I'm not gonna get really into it. Josh is like more calm when it comes to this. But I feel like it added another like piece to like the feud here and what's happening. And I really liked it because I feel like it's been quiet on their end. All you had them was like team up once and then hit like Rich accidentally hitting Josh last week. And I feel like there was really not much to it. So I'm glad that they added this little bit here. And not only that, but adding Steve Macklin there too, because I feel like I'm like, yes, this is exactly the next step. The next person is right here in the room, and I love how he said it to both of them. It's like, I don't care if it's you, and I don't care if it's you, but I just like I'm winning that match, and I'm going after whoever wins your match. And I was like, yes, please, that's all I want right now.
There was a couple neat wrinkles added. I think with Josh and Rich, we're so used to like having to be guided through an entire build to a story, and there have to be animosity, and there has to be a good guy and a bad guy and everything, that sometimes when you get these feuds where it's just two good guys that are extremely talented and capable in the ring, and two faces going against each other that respect each other, they're friends, they've been helping each other out, like Josh helped Rich, Rich helped Josh, we're just at a point now where it's like, hey, who's the better man? It gives it a little bit of a unique dynamic, but it is hard to like pick like, who am I supposed to get behind? I don't understand what the story is here, but there doesn't need to necessarily be a story. It's just Rich is a former champion who lost his title and never got a chance. Josh is a fighting champion who will fight anybody except Steve Macklin, apparently. We just got two guys who are ready to fight, and they specifically say, when Josh tells Rich, don't worry about the kick last week. I know you don't have it in you to do it on purpose. And then that's what Rich took offense to, kind of showed a little bit of a spark of fire there, and says, I'm expecting you to bring the fight of your life to me because that's what I'm going to bring to you. It was a neat little wrinkle without actually having to make Rich the villain, right? There's still just two guys who have a fire, who both want the title, and who are extremely talented in the ring.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely needed that little spark in there, because I know we had the background story. I feel like I needed a little bit more of a push. And here with Barry's comment, I thought uneventful contract signings along with a wedding that goes to plan were banned in wrestling. Thankfully, so did Steve.
Yeah, no, Macklin simply just comes in. I don't care if it's you. I don't care if it's you. I already beat you, and you've been ducking, and then the attack happens, and nobody cares.
I like how Josh said back as that was happening too. He was like, I ain't having a part of this either. It's like great.
It's going to be interesting if Josh is still the champion coming out of tomorrow and it goes to Josh and Steve, because it really does feel like Josh, without directly doing so, he's been kind of avoiding Steve Macklin for a little bit. Like when the feud was happening before the Kaz fight, even, it was Kaz who ended up saving him from Macklin. And now Macklin takes out Swan, and Josh is just like, nope, you guys have fun. So, gonna be fun. Gonna be a fun month and a bit. We go to our next match now. Diener and Callihan of the Design versus Yuya Uemura and the aforementioned Frankie Kazarian. Lots of interesting developments in this match. I have a lot of notes coming out of here. Right off the bat when they make their entrance, yet again during the entrance, Diener stops Callihan from doing the thumbs up, thumbs down, and he rips Callahan's hat off of his head. At the start of the match, you have Kaz and Diener as the bell rings, and immediately Diener tags Callihan in, tells him to do the right thing. Callihan goes and attacks Kazarian, and then as soon as he has Kazarian on the ground on his back, Diener's like, now tag me in.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a running theme throughout the match of Diener dictating everything. Callihan was to do everything Diener said all the way up until the end of the match, where Callihan was setting up for the finish, and Diener's like, no, tag me. And at that point, Callihan hesitated and then questioned the demand, and Kazarian took control. Diener hopped off the apron and let Callihan get pinned for refusing to tag him.
Yeah, I feel like this was very interesting, and I liked how there was little parts when even the designer being mostly in control, Cass trying to help Yuya because he had been in the match over a little bit way too long, and that distracted the referee, and that's when they took advantage at one point in the match as well. And even towards the end when Callahan goes to get the thumbs up, and Diener's like not having it. But I like how
he
like
goes the thumbs up, and Diener's like, no,
like nope, not happening. But I like how, like you said, it's just a theme that happens from the beginning to the end of the match. And he's like, it's kind of those things of like any part of your identity, I don't want you to have to show off during this match or during your entrance or anything like that. And even later on when they're backstage, you kind of understand what's going on because he tells him, more than anything, I was looking for your loyalty. Whenever I asked for you to do something, for you to do it for us. And it's like the moment that he asked for the big one, he failed at it. Uh, but I like that aspect of like Diener's like, I'm in control and I'm calling the shots no matter what happens in here because I'm the leader of the group. And I you can see that happening through this whole match. Other than that, I feel like for Khan and Cass, it's one of those matches that I keep forgetting that it's on the card because of they don't talk about it as often. But I'm sure it'll be like a great match once you watch it because I love Cass as it is. I haven't seen Khan wrestle like a match like 1-on-1 like this in quite a while, so I'm looking forward to see how he goes by himself. Technically,
we had the Khan match with Callihan before we started Callihan joining the design. And the last time I remember seeing Khan in a one-on-one was last year, right after Josh, or before Josh won the title even, when he was one of the roadblocks on Josh's way to Moose. So definitely going to be interesting to see him kind of in a key Premier Live event, PLE match as they're known as now. And just touching on the part you mentioned the backstage after the match where Diener's confronting Callihan and saying, step 5 is about loyalty. The design is a covenant. It's not somewhere you join and then when you don't get your way, you walk away. You get brought in and you never leave.
Yep.
And to prove that he has to prove his loyalty, and tomorrow during Khan versus Kaz will be the next step, basically. And he still has 2 steps left.
Mm-hmm. And Barry's comment, a few times Callahan looked at Angels and Khan as if they were to try to win their approval and influence them. Yeah, and just little things that happen during the match that you don't even think about until later because of what's happening within the storyline.
Yeah. The other interesting part is that they actually acknowledged in that backstage segment where Diener said, I thought this was just a ploy to infiltrate us, and maybe it still is, but you're doing all the right things to try and like prove that you're doing this for the right reasons. So Barry mentioned it, I believe, last week at the end of the match where Callihan kind of winked at the camera. Now this trying to win over Angels and Khan. There's lots of different little nuances to this whole story that on the surface it's one thing, but if you look deeper, there's lots of different things you can pick up that make you think like, is the surface level just the surface level, or is Callihan really telling a much deeper story here and you need to actually be paying attention to catch it all?
Yeah.
Speaking about a story that is surface level, we had a backstage package again of Mickie James. And initially, I thought it was a Mickie James and Jordynne Grace package because I was confused.
Yeah.
Mickie talking about the last rodeo being over, and then Jordynne talking about the match with Mickie and her tapping out and coming back for her rematch. And then Masha finally shows up. I'm like, wait, oh right, Masha's actually in this match because we keep forgetting that
Mhm.
Masha's even there. She's been in Edmonton so much, I forgot that she's still working Impact.
It's like I forgot his Masha was Mickey having not Masha. I mean, not Mickey and Jordan. As we keep getting the glance up, it's like, and like Ed is the one that made me realize this too because we were talking about Impact because I keep thinking, okay, we had this part of like Mickey with Tommy Dreamer, Mickey with Bully Ray, Mickey with the Good Hands, and we had very little glimpses of her and Masha. I know Masha attacked her from behind and had her in the stone flower, but I feel like they have barely interacted with each other since this started. So you kind of, in a way, forget that they're facing each other. And then, like you said, the way the video package started with Jordan, I was like, wait, what? What? I'm like, are they adding Jordan to this? That's what I like. My initial thought was, and then it made it more confusing because at the end, not only that, but the part of like Mickey James going, she's gonna get her rematch. So to Mickey is like, oh, I'm winning, so I'm the one going against Jordan, and it's like dismissing Masha as it is as well, and that's another thing to it. And this is the main reason why I didn't like it. And I had mentioned this from before. I said before this even happened, when the last rodeo was happening, I said Mickey's gonna win against Jordan, and then after that, it's probably gonna be Mickey versus Masha because we have the story, like we can add the layer of like Mickey's the one that brought Masha in here as a pick your poison before. So I was thinking of something along those lines that we're gonna get more talked about and stuff like that. And we had Mickey on a commentary saying, "Look, I respect Masha and she has never not impressed me and little things like that. But I feel like they're barely interacted with each other since this started. So this is nothing what I picture what the build up would be for this match. So that's what I'm saying. Like those matches that I mentioned a few minutes ago have been like the build up haven't been what I thought it would be when it was happening. And that's what I even when I said when I attended tapings, I feel like I didn't know what half of the card would be because I feel like there was not a lot going on, like we'll connect it back to the pay-per-view. So it's like watching it now, the backstage stuff is the one that made it more like connect to the card now. And this is another one of those. Like I saw Mickey and Tommy Dreamer team up, and then we only saw Masha hitting her from behind once, and then the Sunflower. So only twice they have really like in a couple of seconds interacted with each other. So I feel like it doesn't help me like think about their match because we've barely seen them on screen.
Yeah, I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but I think it's really feeling like we are heading to a triple threat here. And I mean, we've got the March show still to come, and then we've got the Rebellion in April. I don't know if you build this triple threat for March, if you have another way to tell a story and through March until you get to the triple threat at Rebellion. It just feels like the fact that Jordan has been present in this Masha story for this long and Jordan having beaten Masha twice already, if we're going to get to a point where Masha is winning, it's got to be in a place where Mickey wins. But as long as, or where Mickey's the one taking the pin, but as long as Jordan has that rematch, if Masha just beats Mickey clean, Jordan and Masha then is part 3 with Jordan already having 2 wins. And it doesn't feel like that would be the right way to go with this, where it makes more sense that you'd have Masha, Mickey, and Jordan in a triple threat where they beat the holy hell out of each other, and Masha ends up walking away as champion, and Jordan has to kind of take a step to the back of the line and work her way back again.
Yeah, because I thought about from this aspect, if Jordan had been a heel, then I would understand her like maybe attacking Mickey for dismissing the tap out or things like that, and then causing Mickey to win or causing not to Q or any sort of way, anything like that to make it a triple threat. But Jordan's not a heel, so just like I wonder how they will decide to build this up going forward and make it a three-way because I don't know right now how it'll be. Buried here. The biggest build-up for anything and no surrender seems like the busted open nonsense.
I would agree with you,
Uh,
Barry, if we hadn't got Joe Hendry and Matt Cardona.
okay.
Joe Hendry and Matt Cardona has had a ton of build. They're really building up that digital media championship.
Ew. Thank you for stopping by.
We got the other beat the clock match next. My notes right off the bat, before they had even entered the ring while Bully Ray was on his way out, was poor Kucher. Not a great position for him.
Yeah.
But at least he got an entrance, which is something.
Well, it lasted longer than the match. Probably.
Uh,
Am I
he comes
lying here?
down, bell rings. before Bully and Gujar even make contact with each other, Hotch and Skylar are on the ringside, distracting both the ref and Bhupinder. Bully wraps the chain around his hand completely, just nonchalant. Ref stays distracted by Skylar. Bully clocks Gujar. 1, 2, 3. I guess. Again, it happened.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement that this busted open stuff is completely unnecessary at this point. Bully Ray could happily go to NWA and feud with Matt Cardona there, and I don't care. He can go and feud with Tyrus there. I don't care. Hell, he could feud with somebody actually important on the roster, but I don't care about this Bully Tommy story. I'm sure this is because Tommy Dreamer has been such a good hand for Impact for so long. This is a story that Tommy has probably pitched that he wants to do himself. I'm ready for them to clean it up, and maybe we can get to a point where Tommy just leaves Impact or goes to being a back of house trainer or producer or whatever he wants to be. I just don't care about Tommy in a ring anymore.
At first, when the beat the clock stuff was happening, Barry, I saw it and thought, great, Bhupinder's back. Oh, it's over. I thought the same thing along those lines. At first, I was thinking, was Bhupinder so it should last about a minute as well? That was my thought process. And then the way it happened, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? It's like, I get the build up because it's Bully Ray, but at the same time, you look at another young guy winning, losing over with the veteran like Bully Ray, like it happened earlier with Tommy. And it's just like I thought this was gonna end up being like a loser least impact match in a way because of what Mickey had said to Bully Ray at first. So I thought this was gonna be it. And then when they brought Busted Up, it was like, great, you promoted it enough. You wore the dang shirt to the ring, Tommy. It's like we won't forget about Busted Open. We know you're on it. We already know. Trust me. And it just feels like too much of a promotion for this show at this point. And just like, okay, we get it. You promoted it. Can we have it be done after No Surrender, please? I don't want this to be the focus of Impact Wrestling because I really don't like this. But I feel bad for Bhupinder. Like I said, I feel like his entrance probably took just as much as the match did. And it's like, great. That was it.
I think the only thing that good to come out of this whole thing right now was the backstage segment we got with Tommy and Bhupinder after the match, where Gujar's sitting there dejected and he apologizes to Tommy for not like beating the clock for him.
Yeah.
And Tommy tells him really emotionally and stern faced, like, you don't need to apologize. You know, you didn't do anything wrong. You went out there, you got ganged up on. Use this to motivate you. Use this to make you great. Use this to push you forward. And he's like, you have greatness within you, which I'm pretty sure is a quote from somewhere, although I don't exactly remember where. But Bhupinder was voted last year as the one to watch in Impact for 2023. I feel like this should be the jumping point for Bhupinder to really get back in the ring and jump off and be that one to watch that we all voted for him to be.
Disappointment.
It was very disappointing. Like, this match didn't even go more than 20 seconds when all was said and done. So they didn't even need to go to the clock afterwards, as Matt Raywalt said. You know, no need to even compare. That definitely wasn't a minute. We know he didn't make the time limit. So I just hope that something good comes out of this in Bhupinder Gujar getting a sustained push. I think Gujar going for Trey Miguel's X Division title would be a great story for him to go and potentially for him to be the one to take the title off of Trey.
Well, that would be nice.
We did get the rundown and recap of what's going to happen on No Surrender tomorrow night. I'm going to leave that. We're going to go through the main event, and then we'll come back to the show lineup for tomorrow.
Oh, gosh. This made me laugh. I'm sorry, Barry. It sounds like a Disney quote. Yes, it does.
Monsters Ball. Crazzy Steve and the aforementioned X Division champion himself, Trey Miguel. I love kind of the way this started, with Steve coming out of the dark room, ready to fight, not a worry in the world about stepping out of the light, and Taurus being there to pull the ref away from the door for him was nice. And then Trey coming out and like immediately shielding his eyes and confused. And, you know, the way these guys play up the Monsters Ball really gets a kick out of me whenever they have these matches. The match itself was absolute insanity, for lack of a better term. Like these two just
Mm-hmm.
absolutely destroyed each other, put their bodies through hell, blood, staplers, tacks, barbed wire, Janice, a giant metal steel spike. You ask for it, they had it in this match. So many good spots. Astrid, are you in agreement on that?
Yeah, like watching this live, it was the first time I watched a Monsters Ball match, so that was pretty interesting. I didn't think that was gonna happen in this card. I'm glad it was the main event as well for us, like not only like for the weekend closing off as well. Um, yeah, this was better than I thought it was gonna be, to be honest. And all these false finishes they had, I was like, holy crap! And the crowd was so behind Crazy Steve. I loved that. And I was like, dang it, it would have been great to just watch Crazy Steve win this like right now. Because I feel like not only is the match made for him, but he was like winning the crowd over with everything he was doing. And I feel like he doesn't get highlighted often. So like to see the crowd cheering for him, even when he doesn't get involved and stuff like this. But the like feel like a disappointing part in that aspect is like he said even before the match happened, I think it was last week. It's like win, lose, or draw. Like I'll leave Trey Miguel. Like I'll be done with him after this. And I was like, after this, I don't want him to be done with Trey. Like this was so good. I wanted more from it, and I was just more disappointed. I was like, this is the end. Just when it was getting good. Why? um, but yeah, those table spots towards the end were just brutal. I wish it would have shown us like in the big like camera because we didn't get to see it like that. I feel like it was better to see it now on this angle because I was sitting a little bit behind commentary, so those little spots like that, it was a little bit hard to see from our aspect. But we were so behind Crazy Steve. I loved every end of it, and I also love the detailing he did from the beginning with the theme song because I feel like if you think about it from like this point of view, Trey has been in that dark room for 24 hours with no food and water and no light. And then he comes in, does his entrance, and he's like literally like traumatized by how the music is changing to, something
Always
something like those noises,
he's being
combined with
haunted
a
by
sing song.
Steve throughout the entire time down to the ring. He's still being haunted by Steve.
I love how it shows like it's something that he's not used to versus something that it's Crazy Steve. It's like part of his world. So he's like nothing really like it doesn't face him. But with Trey, everything has been through those past 24 hours. And then the change of the entrance, it's just like for him, he's definitely not in the right state of mind to be in this match. But he still ends up winning it even through what's happening. But
Yeah.
I really loved it. Seeing Trey in this like kind of light. So just amazing. Plus it's nice to see you talking so nicely about your favorite wrestler in the world.
um, Honestly, the big thing that kind of gave me a pop in this match was the callbacks to Abyss. Steve hitting the black hole slam onto the thumbtacks, and then when he pulled Janice out from under the ring, immediately I was like, "Oh boy!" Because I watched early 2000s Impact with Abyss in all of the Monsters Ball matches and all of those big matches that he was a part of back then. But all of these spots, like from Janice being ground against Trey's face, the Death Valley driver through the table, the finish through the barbed wire table, the vicious looking Canadian destroyer by Steve on top of the chair and the thumbtacks, just so many fun spots that could live on for a long time. Like if you're showing a highlight of Monsters Ball matches, these are all different spots that I would happily see in any kind of Monsters Ball highlight package.
Yep.
And that black hole, before we get to Barry's comment, that black hole slam and Trey's outfit, the way his shirt was cut on the back when they finally showed that shot where he just had thumbtacks all across the mid back, I was like, one of those things that just kind of makes you cringe in the moment, like feeling that pain and empathy for him. Like, that can't be comfortable.
Yep. And Barry's comment, what the hell was Trey wearing? I kept thinking Fame or an 80s fitness video.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was with the top tonight, but it worked. It did what it needed to do, I guess, that left him bare skinned enough to really show off the pain of the violence that they were putting their bodies through.
Yeah,
The other thing that I caught too was just the contrast between the two of them. When Trey landed in the tax, immediately screaming and yelling and arching and just trying to like pick them out of his hands and wrists. When Crazy Steve landed on the thumbtacks, he rolled over and was smiling and laughing and enjoying it. He put himself. He was doing snow angels in the thumbtacks after that Canadian destroyer. Like, just this pure madness that Crazy Steve personifies every time he's in the ring. Whether he's in pain or not, he doesn't let it show. He enjoys the pain. He enjoys the sadistic demeanor that he is putting on for our pleasure.
Yep.
That's the match. That's the show. That is tonight. Before we jump into our predictions for No Surrender, I'm going to throw this out right now, Astrid. Who was your impact maker for the night?
Let me have to think about this one tonight. Geez, I feel like I don't know at this point. Well, I'll go cheat a little bit. I'll say both Trey and Crazy Steve, because I feel like that was a great main event. It was a great way to end the show itself, and I wish I would have had a match at No Surrender, but it'll keep me wanting more at this point. But I feel like it was very well done, like a great way to end. For me, it was a great way to end my nice weekend at Impact Wrestling there too.
Yeah, I'm on board with you there. For the first time ever, I think we're on the same page and giving it to both. Make the exception here. This Monsters Ball match was something special these two put on after a
Trey?
long I love the X Division, Astrid. We've been through this. The X Division is my true passion when it comes to Impact Wrestling. This was just X Division and Carnage in a perfect blend of poetic perfection. Really, I can't put it any better than that. It had its drawbacks in small points. It wasn't a 5-star by any means, but it was a pretty damn good version of a Monsters Ball match. And I am happy to make it for both Steve and Trey. That I think Steve gets kind of forgotten a little bit in the Impact roster. That the guy's been around for a long, long time, and Decay has been running things for a long, long time. And to see Steve get not just a main event match, but a main event match where he is really highlighted and put over in such a way. It's really nice that he got that push in that story again here with Trey, even if we know it's not going any further in the near future.
Yeah.
That said, No Surrender tomorrow night. If you want to, we'll jump into this. We'll start with the countdown matches and then get into the main show. First up on the countdown show, as far as the graphics we were presented, were Speedball Mike Bailey versus Jonathan Gresham. Astrid, where do you fall on this?
This one's a tough one. Oh shoot, I put in the wrong place. Oh well. Dang it, I don't know who to pick for this one. It's so tough. I love both of them, but I feel like at least Speedball has been getting highlighted more. So I feel like it probably goes to him, but at the same time, I just want Gresham to win because I feel like we haven't had him have like a big win, and I think this will be like a good one for him to win. But just to be me, I'll just pick Speedball.
I'm going to go against you on this one. As much as I think Speedball should win and could win and might win, Jonathan Gresham, as you said, he hasn't got that big win yet in Impact. And knowing he's signed on for a while, I think this is one where you could have him go over in such a way that it still makes Speedball look extremely strong while letting Gresham pick up a big win. So I'm going with the Octopus on this one.
Ew. Okay. Sorry, I had to push too many buttons this time.
Don't push too many buttons.
There we go. Oh no.
People might start thinking that we are Mike and Jonathan if we keep talking there.
That'd be nice.
Next up on the pre-show, we have Giselle Shaw versus Deonna Purrazzo on the battle over the chili, apparently, as Astrid put it. I
should have edited a bowl of chili in the middle.
This one's an interesting one. I think both these women could easily take this one. I feel like we're on more of a path here where we're starting to build Giselle as a legitimate contender going forward. It may be due to interference by Jay Vidal at the end of the day, but I feel like just a hunch that Giselle is walking away with the W in this one.
I like, are we going against each other through this whole thing? I was thinking of like more Diana because I feel like Diana's one of those people I don't want her losing to somebody like Giselle who's just getting started at the same time. I feel like Diana has such a big resume for that. Plus, if you think about it from her point of view, she's getting like revenge for Vex. So I just want her to do that for all the tag teams that got broken up in this process. Rest in peace.
Jumping to the main show, I'm going to start with Khan versus Kaz because we talked a lot about it throughout the show, but when they actually gave the rundown of matches at the end of the night, I don't think they brought it up. So I'm going to run it as the first of our predictions on the main show. Based on the story and the focus that the design has been getting ever since Diener took over, and that this is another one of the 7 deadly challenges. Is that what we're calling them? Of Callihan. Yeah. I feel like Callihan is probably going to have a hand played in this that will result in Kazarian taking the loss and Khan picking up his first singles win in quite some time.
So you got Cass winning.
I got Khan winning.
Oh, Khan. I was like, wait.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those. Yeah, I definitely don't see Cass winning this one. I feel like it doesn't make sense with the story. It makes more sense for the design to keep the momentum they have going towards them. So I just see only Khan winning in some way, shape, or form with the guys behind them. I feel like, as you can see by the graphic, Cass doesn't have any backup. So
yeah, I think this one is probably one of those ones where it's pretty clear cut who's walking out with the W there. Yeah. Next up, we have the Time Machine of Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, and Kushida taking on the Bullet Club of Ace Austin, Chris Bay, and Kenta. Astrid.
I'm gonna go with my boys. I can't go against them. I have to go BC all the way. So yeah, I feel like Ace and Bay have been doing a great job teaming together. It'll be incredible to have Kenta here in an Impact pay-per-view, especially with this build-up. Like, he hasn't even been on like a part of the build-up whatsoever. But Ace and Bay have been doing such a great job representing Bullet Club that I just wanted to keep that momentum and go for the championships against the Motor City Machine Guns. Hopefully at the next pay-per-view that we get.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page there too. I can't see them bringing Kenta in and then taking the L. I think this probably sets up that we're going to get the Motor City's Machine Guns versus Ace and Bay sooner rather than later, potentially because of Kenta's kind of hand played in this one as well. Mm-hmm. We have the Knockouts Tag Team Championships up next. The Death Dolls of what appears to be Taya and Jessica with Rosemary in their corner, taking on Marty Bell and Allysin Kay. This one's an interesting one for me because we do have kind of those little teases still from Father James Mitchell regarding Havoc, that something may play a part in there. I think this is the opportunity, though, that they pull the trigger and that the Hex ends up taking these titles off of the Death Dolls. I feel like you're on the same page, Astrid.
Oh yes, yeah, I having the Hex in here. I was super excited when they came on during these tapings. It's something that I was not. It didn't cross my mind of this happening. So it was interesting when I saw them come in. I was like, I automatically thought, just take those titles, please. That there was nothing else like that when I crossed my mind when I saw them. But like you said, we have that aspect of like Havoc being there, so you never know if she, turns during this match and what happens afterwards between her and basically the other, I would say the other half, I guess, of the Death Dolls in that aspect. So I think that will be interesting going forward. So I would prefer the Hex winning this.
Yeah. We have the number 1 contenders match, the Fatal 4-Way, with Steve Macklin versus Brian Myers versus Heath versus PCO. Set up by all of the qualifying matches over the last couple weeks. I think we all kind of feel like this one is as clear cut as it gets. I can't see anybody else coming out of this to challenge Josh Alexander, although I feel like I almost would prefer if Steve Macklin is delayed one more time to have the big moment in April as opposed to March. But PCO, I think, is going to get attacked by Eddie. Heath and Brian probably cancel each other out, and Macklin just makes the most sense here. I can't pick against Steve Macklin in this match.
Can I point out how we have one side of the graphic with like only like small names and the other side with first and last names? Yeah, I cannot see that. Um, yeah, I feel like the same thing as we had that moment of like PCO cost Eddie his match. So I feel like Eddie could just pay him back in that aspect of like, I'm gonna cost you this match because the title match is on the line. We can have Heath, like you said, with Brian and just like have that moment of like they're going against each other and Macklin just takes the win. Um, I feel like they're the only person that I see winning this is Steve Macklin. I did like the aspect of like during this all these qualifier matches, the people that were part of it were different people that were in the six shooter match. I feel like they were giving a different opportunity to these people, and I really like that because something that you I didn't think about like one after the other. So I'm glad it was somebody like I never thought about. Like I never thought Brian Myers would be in this match, or even like Heath. Um, but it's interesting seeing them there. I know they're gonna have a great match, so I think it'll be interesting seeing all their storylines kind of be like one on top of the other one right there on this match is happening, and hopefully have Steve win. I don't know if they mention when they get the title match when they win it, so I think that will be interesting because I feel like they could easily perhaps maybe skip one pay per view and go after the other one. Maybe I don't know, but I feel like Steve is the only choice I have for this one, to be honest.
Yeah, we're on the same page there. Um, we have the Digital Media Championship. Astrid's bestie holding her title on her shoulder. 252 pounds of pure motivation, Joe Hendry, versus the wrestling god, the scumbag, Moose. Rematch of the last pay-per-view where we did have Moose potentially pick up the victory before Santino Marella came out and restarted the match and allowed Joe Hendry to hit the standing ovation to retain the title. Are we in a position, Astrid, where we could see Moose pick up that victory and actually take the title here? Or do you see Joe Hendry taking the win?
No, I missed seeing his name the first time around, so I'm just taking Jojo Henry. I'm not saying anybody else's name. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to my tech talk. Appreciate it.
I have one thing to say about this match. I believe in Joe Hendry. That's it. That's all I got to say. Knockouts title match. Actually, before we jump to the Knockouts title, let's go to Barry. Myers and Heath, he can see being involved in the digital title picture soon. I think Myers already was in it. Joe won the title from Myers in the first place. Heath is somebody that I think I could see falling back there once he's out of the main title picture and once the Moose and Cardona and Myers stuff is all wrapped up.
Yep. Now we get to it.
Mickey and Masha for the Knockouts World Championship. We talked about this at length when we talked about the package that was put together today, that there hasn't been a ton of build for this match. I am leaning at this point. I am going to say Masha wins this match by DQ. I am going to say something happens where Mickey ends up getting disqualified, whether it's Jordan attacking Masha, whether it's Masha trying to do something and the ref gets something out of the situation. I'm going to say Masha wins this to stay in the title picture and get a win over Mickey without actually taking the title from Mickey.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking too. I was thinking some kind of DQ. I don't know how I will put the DQ in this match is the only thing I'm thinking about. But I definitely have like kind of Masha winning with that DQ, like you said, to build out towards that three-way that we're expecting sometime soon. And going to Barry here. I hope Masha wins, but I think Mickey will win it. Yeah, I did see that DQ aspect. I feel like there's so many possibilities, though. I don't know how that DQ would happen, but it's the only thing that makes sense to me to have Jordan come in here after the video package that we got tonight as well.
Yeah. We'll put up the Busted Open graphic, Astrid, because we do have the Busted Open live segment with Bully
Really?
and Tommy and Dave LaGreca. I want to ask you, Astrid, do you have any bold prediction of what is going to come from this? What is the reason for this? Where do we go out of this Busted Open live?
I feel like the only thing that I could see coming something out of this, perhaps it could be like they end up in an argument. They're like, you leave Impact, and like, you leave Impact. And then they'll probably say, we're going to have each other. I don't know if it's at the next pay per view or maybe at the next Impact taping. It's probably a pay per view though. And just say, the loser leaves Impact Wrestling kind of thing. Because I feel like they both kind of mentioned it last week when they were discussing it with Santino. So that's why I thought this was going to be like the stakes more than anything for the Beat the Clock. But like not only that, but Mickey kind of told Bully Ray, "I want you off." She's like, "I told you first to get off my ring, but now I want you to get out of Impact Wrestling." So I feel like it's been brought up at least twice since this has started, and I feel like it's the only thing that makes sense to kind of end this and wrap it up in that way, so that way we don't get to see this in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. Please, I feel like I'm already like I'm so done with it. I feel like every like the card is great, but I feel like I don't want an like a mic segment during this whole paper because when I'm doing a paper, I want just wrestling. I want the the smallest talk possible, and I feel like this is gonna take a while, and it's gonna take away I think from like having other people have in their important matches, which is what I don't like about it. But more than anything, I see some kind of like loser leaves impact wrestling kind of match. I feel like maybe it's a way that we can get rid of Bully Ray since he's already in NWA. I think it's the thing that kind of makes sense to what's going on with NWA on the other side as well. So that's the only thing that I could kind of see forming from this.
Um, that's very possible. I'm in agreement that we could be on the way to a loser leaves impact match. My bold prediction of what's going to come out of this, though, is that we are going to have a big surprise arrival or return during this segment. Somebody is going to interrupt this segment. My first thought is potentially Devon showing up and interrupting. That we either have a Devon and Bully reunion or Devon attacks Bully, one of the two. But I think the only reason you put a segment like this on a pay per view is if you are doing it for some other big surprise. And I don't think there's any big surprise Tommy and Bully can put into this without it being a return. Maybe it is Matt Cardona. Cardona's not actually on the card. I misspoke earlier, forgetting that it was Moose versus Joe as opposed to Cardona. But maybe it's Cardona coming and interrupting Bully due to their NWA stuff. Maybe it's an ECW original making an arrival. RVD is still out there kind of floating around somewhere. But I fully expect this segment has to involve somebody showing up.
I did like the Devon part does make sense because I feel like a couple weeks ago he did say he left WWE and he said it was nothing in like in bad terms in any way, shape, or form. And he's one of the few names that was mentioned a couple weeks ago during the promo. And Bully has mentioned him a couple of times too, of like, kind of like Devon is the one that always follows me. So I feel like it makes sense for him to follow him through this as well if he does show up. So I feel like he is connected in the storyline already. So it will make sense if he does show up. I just want this to get wrapped up at the next pay per view, I hope, or the next couple of tapings. I just don't want to deal with Busted Up anymore. I don't even watch it. I'm tired of it. And Berry's comment here. I hope Dreamer doesn't retire for good as I'm complaining each time he turns up. So will I.
I like Barry's other comment though, because that is a great idea too. That Tommy may
I love
have
it.
initiated that Gujar does something. I think Hotch and Skylar probably have a presence at this Busted Open Live. But maybe Gujar's fired up. Maybe Gujar comes for revenge against Bully, and this whole thing turns into Gujar and Bully feuding for a little while now, and I'd be okay with that if it means that we have Bhupinder Gujar in a position to go over and climb the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
So let's finish up our predictions, Astrid. We've got the main event left. Impact World Championship match. The Walking Weapon, Josh Alexander versus Rich Swann. I think we both have the same feeling about this. I don't think it's going to be any surprise to anybody. I feel like we have talked a lot about where we're leaning on this match. And clearly we're both rooting for Rich Swann, right?
Oh yeah, we really are. Yeah, of
No,
course.
as much as Rich is in a position where he deserves to be, he's been doing great things consistently in Impact Wrestling. He is not the same place he was 2 years ago when he was champion. Josh Alexander is just miles ahead of him, miles above him as far as quality of content right now. That I think these two put on a fantastic match. I think this very well deserves to be the main event because I think it could be the match of the night, which is really saying something when you have Gresham and Speedball Mike Bailey starting the night. This show should be bookended almost perfectly with the two best matches at the start and the end. Anything less than that, and I will be disappointed, I think.
But what I like about it more than anything, that even with the lack of like build up towards most of this, I feel like the only thing that would be a downfall for me would be the Busted Open segment. Everything else is like give me everything because I love it. Um, So I'm just like I'm hoping it's one of those like I just enjoy how the matches go, just to bust it up and be like, I guess my bathroom and snack and everything break.
I hope when Bully goes to talk first, he doesn't even get a word out, and Gujar's music hits and he attacks. that Barry, you have set me up. That anything less than that, and I'll be disappointed now. I mean, I'm going to be disappointed if anything's a better match than Gresham and Bailey, but at the same time, I'm going to be disappointed if I actually have to let Bully Ray talk for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I just want him to not be able to put a word in for some reason after he won to beat the clock.
Every time he goes to open his mouth, somebody interrupts.
Yes, please. So
that's it.
Yeah.
That's the show tomorrow night. We will not be live for a recap tomorrow night of the show. We got our predictions in tonight. We are both going to watch the show tomorrow night, I believe, but we will discuss next week on Making an Impact following next week's Fallout show. We will talk about the stuff that happened on No Surrender as well as the fallout from No Surrender. So definitely join us next week on that show. Myself, if you want to keep up, I will probably be live tweeting about the show tomorrow night while I'm watching it. You can follow me right there at Cody Defoe on Twitter. Join me in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking of the show if you're watching it as well.
That threw me off my whole mic.
I'm done. That's it. That's all I had to say. Johnny Swinger will turn up as Rosemary's father, and then I will turn off the TV. Astrid, where can our friends find you?
I feel like I can't think right now. Oh jeez. You can find me on my Twitter. It's Astrid Pizarro. I do have an interview coming up on my channel. I think it's on Sunday if I scheduled it correctly. Sunday 5 p.m. Eastern with Ashley Vega. We talk a lot about Joe Henry actually, about her like training with him and his words of advice for her, which I thought was really like nice. Once I knew about their connection, I had to bring it up during the interview. And her dream match against Becky James, right? Which I hope gets she gets it sometime soon, because I think that would be amazing to see. Other than that, you can watch me doing Taking Over on Tuesdays with Ed, and coming back here making an impact with Cody. I know I will be missing 2 shows in March, as I'll be taking some time off for my birthday, because I actually doesn't take time off, so that'd be a miracle. But yeah, I know Cody will have our good friend Ed be here as my backup, and I trust like they will carry the show like I usually do. I hope. No, but I know it'll be a different vibe, but it'll be fun at the same time having Ed in here complaining about Impact.
I'll just throw old Ed on my back and carry him through.
But no, I know they'll be doing great together. So I have faith in both of them that they'll be having the show here, like we usually do. But yeah, other than that, you can watch us again, like we mentioned earlier, in Backbreaker Media. And I have my NXT review going up on Women's Wrestling Talk. So it'll be, and that's from when I barely had any wrestling matches to write about this week. So we'll see how that goes. I did want to mention that to subscribe and follow our local establishments on the YouTube, as we have a lot of great content there. I know my good friend Bobby and I will be talking about horror movies pretty soon, and having a show there. So I think that would be interesting to talk about, because I always talk about wrestling and not anything else. So yeah, if anything, like I mentioned, we also have people like Andre and Melba who do amazing coverage of New Japan and start up on their YouTube channel as well. So it's always nice to see what they do. And yeah, just like if you can subscribe to our local establishment, I was gonna say Busted Open, great impact. No, to our local establishments, they have great content through the whole week. From everything with Turnbuckle Talk all the way to what they had tonight with the Video Brothers. I was blanking out things, Barry. I keep thinking of your comment now here. Taking time off for Impact, shameful. Not of Impact, just taking time off. I'm taking a whole week off for my birthday. So I'm taking a week off from everything that I do the whole week. So will be not just this. Yeah, so I figured we'll make some kind of, I don't want to say prank, but something similar to it. I'm definitely going to be rating a good friend Rick Jules, because he keeps forgetting to join us in the show, and maybe this will remind him sometime.
Our friend Rick Jules was supposed to join us for this prediction show tonight, but instead he decided to go live on his own channel. So we're going to drop in and remind him that he was supposed to be on our show tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll keep it between the Backbreaker Media family as well. So yeah, we just want to thank everybody for being in the show with us tonight. Talk about Impact. We're really looking forward to No Surrender tomorrow. And like we said, we're not going to be live, but we'll be live tweeting it. So you're definitely on Twitter. You can let us know your thoughts as the matches are happening, and the next week you can hear our official thoughts on the show as well. Do you have anything else you want to say before we remind Rick about not being here tonight?
That is it. Thank you very much, Barry, for always being there with us in the comments. Mel for dropping in. Everybody else, if you're watching, if you've joined us, if you're lurking, we're happy to have you in the show. Always appreciate the viewers in the comments and people joining our conversation. We hope to see you in here again next week.
Yep. Well, see you next week.